All right, so is that it, Libra full moon? Yeah, that is it. Let's make it big. Okay, so again, that is Saturday, March 31st here in the US, 5:37 a.m. Pacific time. Forget the houses here, forget the rising sign. I just do that to make sure I get the right house, the right relationships for the planets. So here, the sun is at 10:45 Aries down here. So the sun at this point, 10 3/4 days in Aries. You have that. Maybe for some of us, we're only having 6 days so far of the ignition switch turned on. But we're having that sense of go, do, begin, launch. Sometimes I was even talking last night in the subscriber class about how Mars and Aries energy can make us feel, or maybe it wasn't with a client recently, but we can sometimes feel bristled, like we feel like we're aggravated, and we don't know why. And it's because through Mars first house Aries archetype, we pick up on things we don't like or that seem threatening, and we may go into defensive mode before we know what's happening. So that might happen for some of you too, with certain energies and things. Like it's all instinctive and pre-verbal and just in the body. So anyway, Sun has been here for almost 11 days at this point. The Sun is conjunct retro Mercury. Mercury's not passed over it yet, but it's conjunct it. And it's also conjunct the asteroid Argent Surrey. So the giant flashlight in the sky is wrapped up with Mercury retrograde, the need to reevaluate things and be aware of why we should act. Why should we do things? And in Aries, what is worth defending? Evaluating what is worth defending. So talk about the sun kind of putting light on something, and there's a visceral pre-verbal thing, but Mercury's here. So you're going to have some ideas. You need to put some words to what's happening and why you are assertive or aggressive, why you might be defensive, why you're inspired. Like there's an understanding here with the Mercury retro, putting words to things. I'll talk about Mercury retrograde in Aries. It will be in all of Aries, well, it's contained in Aries, and I'll talk about that in video number 3. The basic idea is becoming aware of your motivations. Progress may seem stalled. Things might not work. Technology may wig out on you. You may lose tools. You may not be sure how to use things. You may drop a bunch of things, whether they break or not. You might have to replace electronics, all those kinds of things. But we should really look at, in my view, why we're so focused on progress. Why are we racing into some future? So anyway, that's going on with the sun right now, putting light on the need to understand deeper level of why you're focused on progress and what you think it means if you can't make progress, or if you have to take a break, or if you have to replace that phone or whatever it is. But also Argent Surrey. Argent Surrey's here. So there's a need to check in with inner wisdom. Argent Surrey is asteroid 20300, if you haven't come across that. And it's something that, honestly, it just caught my eye in a list of asteroids years ago. And I kept getting woken up by my guides with information on it, so I developed the teaching. So if you look up Argent Surrey, you'll get to my site. You'll get to Living Myth, the book Living Myth as well. So there's not a ton out there on it. But the idea is that when you have a question, where do you go? Do you assume that somebody else has wisdom, or do you go inward? And this is actually a big deal this month because it's conjunct the Aries full moon late in the month, or Aries new moon late in the month as well. So Aries instinctive stuff this month is wrapped up with inner wisdom because these two lunations are conjunct Argent Surrey. I don't see that so often where one asteroid happens to be, in its orbital cycle, involved in both lunations. I don't know that I've remarked that in the last, 4 years of doing this service. Anyway, so Argent Surrey, checking in. So this is a way of saying, Sun, retro Mercury, Argent Surrey, and Aries, you're working on your own schedule. You're figuring out your own thing. You're doing what you're trying to get done. Okay. Now the Sun is also square Mars, Saturn in Capricorn. So there's more doing, and there's pressure from the side for shoulds. You should do, you should do. You need to do, you should have done, that kind of second guessing thing of, you need to get down this to-do list you've been putting off. There's a sense of that in here. Progress is possible, but the sense of pressure may be palpable and it may be uncomfortable. Well, here we have the Libra full moon. Full moons are always for reflecting what's going on so you can try to find balance. But the thing is, it's the moon, so there's a need. There is a desire, a need, but it's an emotional need, and it might be personal for you, and in terms of or against the context in which you find yourself. So it can be like a one-on-one relationship. It can be in a work situation or in just a household thing or in a group community thing kind of situation, club, whatever. But the point is, the Libra moon says, I need you to hear me. I need some togetherness. Think about that energy of the Aries stuff, inward, retro Mercury, inward focused, Arjun Suri. I need to find out what I need to do. Square Mars Saturn. I have this long to-do list. I have to get this stuff done. I can't entertain every little chit-chatty notion you have. Just because I can't chit-chat. I need to get my shit done. I need to focus. The Libra full moon is about slowing down, calming down, remembering your humanity, remembering that other people exist, and developing some peace and quiet and taking a breather in order to work together or listen or exchange information. Moon in Libra. So the asteroid Persephone is conjunct this moon in Libra, and it's retrograde. Persephone represents the need to abduct one's self into maturity or a better scenario. Persephone is the coddled, sheltered, smothered daughter of Demeter and Ceres. So Persephone is constantly kept in this state of being 12 or 13. She's very smart, but she's not wise because she has not been allowed to have any worldly experience of any kind. She's treated like a child. Persephone within us natally, in fact, appears as if 12 or 13, and others will treat us like a child in that arena of life. But at the same time, for a lot of decades in our lives, we may behave like a child in that part of life. I try to tell this story to clients with respect, not insulting them, but saying, yeah, that part of you is always 12 years old and half clueless. 2/3, 3/4 clueless. So Persephone, the need to abduct the self into a better scenario, conjunct the moon. You may need someone to listen to you, and they're in a groove and they can't hear you. You need to, in a Libran way, get their attention. So you might have to slow someone else down so they can hear you. Similarly, if you're in this, Capricorn Aries square groove, somebody else might need to interrupt your rhythm and say, hey, I'm actually here. I exist. So just be aware of, that with Persephone in here, it might be hard. It might seem like a daunting task to find the courage to interrupt somebody who's in a groove. But relationships matter. Hearts matter. When you need something, when you need to be heard, when you need to get through to somebody, you need to connect. You need to be close. You need to share. You need to unwind. These are valid human things. These are very important. But the Persephone here says, I need to figure out, Persephone retrograde especially, I need to figure out the right way to honor what I'm feeling and what I need and to get through. And think about the Capricorn planets as Saturn, Mars, square the sun with the Mercury. There could be a lot of internal focus, but a lot of external noise. Like somebody's building the image of, not literally, somebody's building something. There's a lot of action and noise, but the person isn't focused on anything else but the work. And this Libra moon is attempting to be a wedge to insert itself in there and say, you're human too. I'm human. Let's be human together. Peace, quiet, sharing, togetherness, reflection, learning from each other, learning something together, togetherness. These are kind of the Libra ideals here, or ideas. So that is a story on this full moon. If you're the person who is hyper-focused on something, and I just got this image of like you agree to do something with a loved one at a certain time, but you got really involved in your thing and you're late. If you're, and that person's like, we're planning to do this together, and that person might be a little hurt or put out or something. Maybe the person's totally patient, but around the full moon, I would expect not. Just because this conversation essentially needs to happen about our priorities together versus your priorities alone or my priorities alone. That's the Libran communication, getting on the same page idea. But if you're the person who seems to be slighting somebody else because you're hyper-focused, just give yourself a chance to be interrupted. Like if you get interrupted in your rhythm and somebody says, hey, I still exist, let's be together, let it be okay. that you are hyper-focused. We're all here to learn. Don't feel shame if you seem to have caused a problem. And similarly, don't shame someone else who seems to be causing the problem. It's not really a problem. It's just that this full moon says we need to have a conversation about our togetherness versus what you do and I do separately. Okay, good. So that is my message for you on that one.